Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Clarity in Action. This is going to be a great one. It's one that I have been very excited to bring to you. You know, we talk about being strong. It's something we all want. We want to be strong. We want to be fierce. We want to walk into a room and command the room. As with everything, though, there is a time and a place for it. And sometimes, especially with leaders, sometimes being the strongest person in the room is not what we're going after. And that's what we want to talk about is how, when you need to be strong for everyone else, how that can impact your culture, your team, your productivity, and all of those good things. And with me today, I have my friend, Christine Hansen. Christine, welcome to the show.
Hi, Clara. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You bet. We met a few months ago at a speaking engagement. We were both speaking at a women's conference. And I remember when you took the stage, not only did your title captivate me, but as you started talking about it, you were hitting on so many key points that I think any leader really needs to pay attention to. So I want to talk a little bit about this concept of strength. You know, you are in a high power situation. You are the president of a large real estate corporation out of Fort Lauderdale. So talk to me a little bit about strength and why being the strongest person in the room, being the one that's always strong for everyone else. Talk a little bit about the myth behind that. And maybe that's not the great thing that we should be looking at.
Those are really great questions. I think that when we think about strength, we think about, being strong, being able to carry everything, kind of almost being in like nothing's going to penetrate you. Nothing's going to get to you. And you always have to have that, like the game face. And in definitely in the workplace and in a lot of situations, you do need to have that strength, that calmness that you can show to people. But the myth, I think, and you really kind of had said it before, the myth is really that it's not being strong where nothing ever bothers you. You take care of everything on your own. Strength can be by asking for help. Mm-hmm. Strength can be by understanding who you are and owning who you are so you can stay authentic. So there's a lot of different versions of what strength can mean to different people. But what it's not is going it alone, carrying it alone, and having to deal with everything alone. That's not the correct version of strength.
You know, it reminds me of the saying, it's lonely at the top. And it really shouldn't be, because we should be at the top with everyone. It shouldn't just be that one solo person at the top leading it and carrying the weight of everything.
Absolutely.
I would love to hear a little bit of your story. You know, what is it that brought you to this pinnacle to remember? Because I even think of me when I was a baby leader. I did think I had to be that strong one. I had to have all the answers. And man, I had such a chip on my shoulder. I wasn't soft at all. I would love to hear a little bit about your story and what brought you to this realization.
I think being involved and being in the real estate industry, next year will be my 40th year. And so I kind of grew up in the industry and I started out very young. And so absolutely, I had to put on this, I know everything, and kind of almost bring it out more so than others being as young as I was starting out. I think the moment of clarity for me was when I changed from the I'm fine into a real plan of what I needed next. And so when I think about my lessons, we learn more from our failures than we do a lot of times from our successes. I went through a really, really hard time where, again, I was the strong one with all the definitions that we've talked about, doing everything alone, thinking I had to carry everything alone. And it ended up really showing me when I really hit a wall, Clara. And everything that I thought I could do, everything that I thought was going to work didn't. And that was very humbling, because then I realized, you know what, sometimes you need to ask for help. Sometimes you need to be able to also admit, you know what, this is a failure. This isn't working for me. And so I think being strong genuinely, being able to own who you are authentically and being able to live in that present moment of ownership of what you're going through. That was my turning point, because as soon as I realized strength really has to do with being able to feel comfortable asking for help, admitting you don't know everything, admitting you're wrong, apologizing, even forgiving people maybe that don't even deserve to be forgiven. Those are the things that really bring out true strength.
Absolutely. When I think about, leadership and you're talking about this concept of vulnerability, I think great leaders, they inspire and also create a foundation of trust with the people that they work with, their team, the customers, all of those. I would love to get your perspective. What does the role of vulnerability play in building and maintaining trust?
Yeah. That is an amazing question, because in order if I'll just take me, in order for me to feel like I can be vulnerable, I had to do a lot of work. And I really mean a lot of work, because I had to figure out who I was, and I had to learn to trust myself first. So I did a lot of work. I think we had talked back when about mirror work. I had to go through and have a conversation with myself and look at myself in my eyes and try to figure out who I really was. And at that moment, I realized I was so busy giving to everyone else to try to make everyone else happy and to try to take care of everybody else. I lost who I was. So how can you be vulnerable? How can you be authentic or expect people to trust you if you don't even know who you are? Yeah. So I had to do a lot of unraveling, and the foundation really started with self-love. And I know sometimes people think, oh, you're in love with yourself. That sounds selfish, or that sounds self-serving. It's really the biggest gift that you can give, not just to yourself, but to others, because then you're always coming from a place of abundance. If you feel comfortable and you love who you are, then you know you're going to be okay. And if you know you're going to be okay, then in any situation, you can be vulnerable, because you know that whatever happens, you can go back in and give yourself the compassion, the forgiveness, the nurturing, whatever it is that you need. You can give that. But again, the funny part is when you are vulnerable, people rally around you because of what you just said, because they see the authenticity and they trust you. So you actually end up getting people that will lean in more, where you don't even have to even take care of yourself as much. So it's crazy. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that. I found that for me, again, I was trying so hard to take care of everything, have all the answers, be there for everything. And I was so afraid that if I was real, they wouldn't like me. They wouldn't trust me. I wouldn't be able to lead. And it was sort of after a big bout of burnout when everything came crashing down and I had no choice but to be real. That's when I feel like I really stepped in to my role as a leader. And I found exactly what you said. People started to rally around me. I found that my connections went deeper because I was letting that human side come through. And that's really what people want. They don't want a robot. They want a human.
Just meeting you, I felt your strength. There's that word coming from a place of you knowing who you are, but also being so gracious for the care of others.
Yeah.
That's you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So let's look at the flip side of this. We can talk about, how important this is, but down to real dollars and cents. What do you feel and what have you seen? What is the cost of not being vulnerable? What is the cost of not changing and showing your softer side?
Yeah, there's so much. The cost of that is so much. I have seen some amazing people that are articulate, passionate, smart, funny, but because they're coming from a place of not only not being able to be vulnerable, but also from a place of lack, they end up having a perception where if people don't see them a certain way, that they'll fail. And so they end up putting on this persona that ends up really driving people away. And coming from that place of lack, it ends up where when you see things, instead of seeing the opportunities or the excitement in that moment, they're looking at it from a way of this is going to take away from me, or people are going to judge me. And then it actually causes a great divide. And unfortunately, I have seen that with people who really were just such beautiful souls, but because they didn't see that within themselves, that lack literally destroyed them. And there was never a recovery of it.
hmm It's so true. It just, again, it's sort of that heaviness that just eventually will erode away. And was anything, and you even mentioned it earlier, you're like, everything was working great until it wasn't. And that's usually what happens is, we can do all of these things, but eventually there is that cost that comes out. And I just think it permeates through the entire culture that you have, because people also can't keep up with those standards. And, being able to say, listen, you're going to fall. It's okay. I've got you, and we can get through this together.
Yeah, one of the things that I tell people, the greatest stories is, we always say we went through stuff. And I'm like, okay, stop. Let's talk about the word through. And what I want you to visualize is all of that stuff, put it in a backpack, put it on your back, take 2 steps to the right, drop the backpack and walk away. You've gone through it. And what you're going to unpack out of that is the lessons that you've learned and then the mistakes that may have been made, so that now you're a stronger, better person for it. But don't take the stuff in the backpack or the backpack with you.
Yeah. Love it. Got to unpack it. Got to leave that backpack. It's fantastic.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. For someone who is listening to this right now and they know they're a little stuck, they're like, okay, it's time to change some of these patterns, but they don't even know where to start. What would you suggest to someone as a good first move, something that they can do this week to sort of start the shift?
Yeah, I love this. I think there's going to be one answer that I'm going to say first, which is going to sound a little bit from like left field. I would find something in their world that they can declutter, whether it's cleaning out your car, cleaning out your workspace, getting rid of the laundry on the dining room table, whatever it is. Decluttering opens up to some space, and that's going to automatically immediately make you feel better. And then the second thing is, if people that are listening to this right now are going through challenging times, one of the hardest things when you're going through something right now that just has taken the wind out of your sails is to feel any type of appreciation or gratitude towards anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an exercise where every morning, and I promise you that this will work, every morning, sit down, make a commitment to yourself to write down 21 things that you're grateful for. Make it a commitment that every single morning before anything else, you do this list for 3 weeks. The key is you can't repeat the things. Mm-hmm. So, that first day, kind of easy because you can say, I'm grateful for my health or my family or my pets or, blah, blah, blah. But that second or third day, you're like thinking 21 things that I can't repeat. The beautiful thing is if you commit to this and you do it during the day, you're going to have to look for things to appreciate. That gives you a shift. So no matter what circumstance you're going through right now, you're going to start to change your perspective to where you have a little bit of some energy, and you're going to start noticing either people that are going to help you or solutions you hadn't have thought of. This is a really good base to kind of start. And then the very last thing I would highly recommend is really doing some work. Do you feel self-love? And that's a big one. And so baby steps is fine, but that's the work I think that really all of these things gets you to really that ultimate question and then growth from there.
Yeah, so true. And I love that gratitude. That was something that I was introduced to probably, I don't know, maybe about 15 years ago. And I had never done it. I had heard of it, but I'm like, oh, it's kind of woo-woo stuff. And it is truly amazing that when you do that, it's about the rewiring of your brain. Yes. And when you rewire your brain, you start to find more evidence of that being real. And then also understanding that your brain cannot be in two conflicting thoughts. So when you're in gratitude, you can't be in scarcity. So scientifically, it's proven. And you're absolutely right. When you cannot repeat those, it really causes you to take the blinders off. And then you start seeing the beauty that is in front of you. So I agree with you 10,000 times on the gratitude. I think that is so great that we're doing that. So I love it. So let me ask you this for you, when you are leading others and people do look to you for strength and for all of those, I would love to ask, in your roles, how do you model vulnerability, harmony, self-care? How are you modeling this? Because I think as leaders, we have to model these for our people.
Yes, yes. I think some of the ways that I do that is I do practice self care. I openly say that if I say yes to something, I'm all in and I mean yes.
Mhm.
I give myself permission to say no. And I tell people create an elevator pitch where when someone asks you, hey, will you do this? Have a go to that says, thank you for the opportunity. Let me check with my schedule and I'll get back to you. And then once you have that, then you go back and you're like, do I want to do this? Am
Mhm.
I the best person for this? And is this something that I have time for? And if those things are all yeses, then you call back and you make that commitment. If it's a no, it's okay. I always joke and say no is a complete sentence. And
Mhm.
so it's so important that that is something that we do. So self care is extremely important. The second thing is having the ability to have candid and real difficult conversations. If things are going wrong in a certain area, people are watching you. How you handle it, if you're respectful and you handle it in a way that shows that you care, people are
Mhm.
going to notice. If you handle it where you're passive aggressive, which I used to be, people are going to notice that as well. And so my saying is that you can say anything to anyone with love and respect. And so I think that is probably one of the biggest ways that I've helped others when they're watching me and they're like, you really had this conversation? And I said, yeah, I really did. And it's not a gossip and I don't use all the names when I share with things, but I want people to know that for us to be able to truly have that trust that you mentioned, you have to be able to rely on the fact that we get to say what we need to say, but in a very respectful, healthy way.
Absolutely. Two big things that I really hope everybody is taking away from this is that when you say yes to something, you have to say no to something else. I say that all the time. And I love how you have the checks and balances to run something through it before you say yes too quickly to make sure, does this make good business sense? Is this in alignment with my goals, with my vision? And then the one that you were just talking about, always come from love. Again, you're leading. That's part of leadership. It's to help others get better. We can't do that if we're not being honest with them. And you're absolutely right. You don't have to be mean about it, but if your intent is to truly help them to deliver value coming from love, you're absolutely right. You can say it, but you have to build that trust first. So I think that all of that is wonderful.
Yeah, I say that when, having to have that difficult conversation or having it be hard for someone to hear doesn't mean it doesn't need to be said. And it's tough. It took me a while, really, truly, Clara. It took me a while to get to that point. But once you do, you see the value of the strength of the relationships that you make from it.
Exactly. I love it. Well, Christine, you have so much going on. You are, running companies. You're a part of the National Association of Realtors. You do a lot of charity work. So I would love to have you share what is next for you? What is something big that you're working on right now?
Well, it's funny that you asked that because you heard me talk about the cost of being the strong one. I'm
Mhm.
now kind of marinating and working on another project where, if you think back, many, many years ago, a lot of people had homes and they sat out on their front porches.
Yeah.
And you knew who your neighbors were. You saw when the kids were playing. You chat. If you didn't see someone for a little while, you noticed. And that was kind of society. That was community. That was neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, we started to build these backyards. And now people come home and they go in their home and then they're in their backyard, which now has fences, which has closed us off. So I'm taking this kind of scenario and I'm building it into what does that mean for us and how we're interacting with people. So I'm tired of the superficial. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine.
Mhm.
And so I think my next thing is to really be able to hone in to help people. Let's connect in a better way. Let's bring people together where it's not surfacey, but it's real. And I think that's kind of going to be my next little
I
thing
love
I'm
that.
stepping
I feel
into.
like a front yard barbecue instead of the backyard barbecue. And,
Yes, yeah.
I've said this too. It's like, I truly believe that outside of food, clothing, and shelter, human connection is the fourth basic human need. And that's what I take away when you say that is, again, in this day and age where we are so overly connected, maybe we're not as connected as we really need to be. So I think that's fantastic. So I love it. Well, Christine, this has been amazing. You are bringing so much to us. I love what you're saying. I love that you're giving yourself and others around you the permission to be real, to be vulnerable, and understanding that's true strength. And, working with that. And I have one final question for you. And this is a question I ask everyone. Sitting where you sit today, learning everything you've learned, how do you define success for yourself?
Success for me, I think, is really being able to learn every day what keeps that joy in my heart. I think that there's nothing that's material. There's nothing that's outside that defines success for me. I think it's an internal thing. So every single day, if I can say that there's an abundance of joy, I've done something of joy in my life today, that's my definition of true success for me. Thank you for the question.
You got it. Well, thank you for being here. I am just honored to know you. I cannot wait to see you on more stages and hopefully share some of those stages with you. Great things coming out. Thank you so much for being a guest with us today.
Oh, I appreciate you. And again, you inspire me every day. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. And for those of you watching, make sure, come back, bookmark this, share it with others so that we can all grow strong in the right ways and also be there to support each other on all of our journeys. So with that said, much gratitude to you. I'm Clara Capano, your host of Clarity in Action. Make sure to go and give us a 5-star rating, share it with others, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Clarity in Action. Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity.